Hi everyone, and welcome back to Cloud Bay Academy. So, have you ever seen a SQL query so complex that it looked impossible to understand? What if I told you that a single SQL feature can make those complicated queries clean, readable, and interview ready? So, today we are learning Common Table Expression, also known as CTE, and we will go even further into Recursive CTE, one of the most asked SQL interview topic for data engineers, SQL developers, Azure Data Engineers, and Databricks professionals. By the end of this session, you will know exactly when to use CTE, when not to use them, and how recursive CTE work internally, and how companies use them in real-world projects. Let's understand with some example. For example, we have a employer data is here. Okay, so this with this it is used for common table expression. Let's understand first what problem does CTE solve. So before CTE existed, developers used nested subquery. Nested subquery means we are writing our code in a nested form. It means we are created one result set, and from that result set we are taken data and create another result set. So let's understand with this one. First we create one data set from the employees table, and then using this data set into another one. Okay, so it becomes 500 lines long. Okay, so can you debug it? Can you maintain it? And can your team understand it? Probably not. Microsoft introduced CT to solve this readability problem. Think of CTEs as a temporary named result set, and it exists only during query execution. So this is the without CTE. Okay, messy nested queries. And if I go through one step back, so this is our CTE thing. Easy to read. Okay. So a common table expressions is a temporary result set defined using the with keyword. Okay. Why this is important? A city is not a permanent table. It is not a physical object. It is not a store procedure. It is not a view. It exists only for that query execution. Let's understand flow. Query started, then CT created, then query executed, and CT destroyed, or we can say that it's end. Okay, so this can help you to understand how this internally working. Let's understand with some example. So before that, going to that demo, I can show you something here. So first, I can create one employer table. So that employer table help us to understand the whole demo. Okay, So for example, in employee table we have a employee id, employee name, department and salary. Okay, so let's execute this query, and we are entering some sample data here that can help us to understand that data. Okay, so now our table are ready with some results data. Okay, so we will use this table throughout the entire session. So go through with example by example, so it can help us to understand easier way. So our first example is, if we required highest salary for employees. So for that one, okay, so here we are creating a temporary result set. Okay, and that result set we are using to get the data. So after execute, here what happened here. So first we execute the CT, then the result is stored in temporarily, and then outer query use that result and think of it like creating a temporary mini table. Many interview candidates know single CTE, but companies frequently use the multiple CTE also. Let's understand with one example. So in multiple CTE, first like here we are getting the highest salary. Okay, and if we talking about only for the any specific department, so for that one, let's understand that one. So first we have the data, like how many are the IT department, and in IT department, who how many are there where salary is greater than 70,000. Okay, so for that one we are using results, and then we have using with inner join and get the result set. So let's execute what result we are getting. So basically this improve the readability significantly. Let's understand with some real time example. So company ask to us, show departments whose average salary exceed 60,000. So how you are achieve that result set. So first we create a temporary data where we are getting the average result set. Okay, and then based on the average result set we are getting greater than 60,000. Okay, so this is the thing here. Now understand the CT difference, some comparison between CT and our subqueries, because interviewer can ask this question. So based on the some component we can understand that. So first feature, readability. So for readability we can say that in CT it is excellent because easily to read that data. Okay, and in subquery it is poor because we have a nested loop here. Okay, Let's talk about reusability. So here we can reuse that one, but in subquery we can't. Okay, or we can say that in minimal case we can use here. If talking about complexity, so in city we haven't complexity, but in subquery we have the difficulty. If we have a 500 lines are there, so in that case it is difficult to identify that. And last one is recursive support. So in CTE recursive is supporting, but in subquery is it is not. So next question interviewer can ask to you, like, can CTE improve performance? So what are the answer from us? He is expecting not necessarily. CTE improve readability, performance depend on execution plan. So you can say that. One important question sometime asks difference between CTE and temp table. So first get the difference in CTE and temp table. So in CTE basically it is a temporary result. It is using only memory and query scope is there. Okay. But if talking about temporary table, so in temporary table it is stored in a temp DB. Okay. And here we can create the index and reusable. Okay. Now we can understand the recursive CTE. So it is a most important section because recursive CTE most asked interview topic, and it is used for why we are using the recursive CTE. It is used for organization hierarchy, parent child relationship, folder structure, and we can say that bill of material and categories tree. So these are the used of recursive CTE. So before understanding the recursive CTE, we create some sample data here. For example, I can create one employee hierarchy table here and put some sample data in this hierarchy table. Okay. So let's understand how recursion works. Okay. So recursive CTE has a two part. First part is anchor query and starting point. Okay. And in part two, recursive query and repeat until no rows remains. Okay. So basically our recursion is working on a two way, or we can say that two part. Let's understand with some example. So for example, I have a one query here. I can open in a new window. So in this query It is divided into two part: anchor and recursive. And here I am using the union. And before that, I can show you something here. So, for example, in organization, one CEO is there. Okay, okay, and under this CEO, one manager A, and another manager is B. And for this manager, one team lead. Okay, and for this team lead, we have a developer A and developer B. Okay, I can zoom it. Okay, so this is the hierarchy here. So basically, SQL start with CEO. Okay, then find the managers, and then team lead, and then developer, and continuous until no child row remain. So, for example, this is the first child here, then second child, and if we haven't found any child, then it is stopped here. Okay, so that is called recursion. It means data are recurring on a based on the condition. Now understand that generate some number using recursive CTE. So first understand that problem. I can show you for that this example here. Okay, this is the CEO and this is all the employer. So if I run that one, so you can get that CEO at a level 1, then manager A, manager B on a second level, then team lead A, third level, developer and developer. Okay, now let's understand with our example that is generate using recursive CTE. So if we require some generation for the number, so here what we are doing, num greater than 10. Okay, so if I execute this one, so till 10 it is generating the number here. Now understand with some interview question which can ask by users or our interviewer ask that question. So first question is, what are the two parts of recursive CTE? So you can say that there are two parts: anchor query and recursive query. In last example I have shown here anchor query, okay, and recursive query. Why union all we are using here? So the base purpose is we avoiding the duplicate and better performance. And next important question asked by the interviewer: what happen if stop condition is missing? So if we are not putting any stop condition, So for example, if I remove here, okay, and I can run that. So what happened? It is running continuously, and after some time we are getting the error. Okay, that's why we are stopping the regression. If I put here 100, so till 100 it is running. If I put 1000, so till 1000, okay, we are getting the error on that. Okay, one second, I can show you our previous thing. So why we are getting the this message? The maximum recursion 100 has been exhausted before statement completed, because might be this type of tricky question can asked by the interviewer. So you can say that 100 by default it is taken, that's why. Okay, so companies use recursive city for employee reporting structures, organization chart, folder structure, and product category, multi-level approaches, or some multi-level approval, you can say that, in Azure data warehouse hierarchies, Power BI parent child reporting. Okay, always index parent and child column. So this purpose of that, it is helpful for the performance tuning. So for example, I can create index on, okay, so if we are using this type of indexes, so it help us avoid deep recursion, avoid unnecessary column, and always validate execution plan. Okay, now move to our rapid fire questions. So first question is, what is CTE? So for that one we can say that temporary named result, that's called CTE. Next important rapid fire question, can CTE replace the temp table? So you can say that not always. Can CTE recursion itself? Yes, recursive CTE. Okay. Does CTE store data physically? No, there is no data we are storing physically. And why we use the recursive CTE? So you can say that hierarchy processing. Difference between recursive and normal CTE: recursive reference itself, and default recursion limit is 100. And one more important question, how to increase the recursion? So you can use the option max recursion. For example, I want to 500, so I can put here 500. Okay, so that is the way you can increase the recursion. So you now understand CTE and recursive CTE from beginner to advanced level, and you learn syntax, execution flow, hierarchy processing, and recursive logic, and also go through with some interview questions. So in this module, and we have in next module, we will cover Windows functions. Okay, and if this session helped you, so like the video, subscribe to Cloud BI Academy, and Comment below with your favorite SQL interview question. Thanks. Bye.